And again, welcome, and thank you so much for being here this morning. Today we have got the Diabetes Cooking Club happening, and our topic of conversation today is nourishing bowls. We are at September 24th. This is our second to last Diabetes Cooking Club for 2025, so don't forget to join in our final Diabetes Cooking Club for this year, which will take place next month. Next month is October, I suppose, and our topic of conversation is going to be sheet pan meals and how to use sheet pan meals in a very convenient, way to prepare a meal very quickly, right? A lot of dirty dishes and still make it diabetes friendly. So we hope you'll register and join for that too. Nikki says she loves sheet pan meals in the chat, and I agree, as well as meals. So today we're talking about bowls. I've got questioning on, and that is available for you. So if you need to read the text as I am speaking, please little CC button at the bottom of the screen. It may not always be 100% accurate, so feel free to type in the chat if you need clarification on anything. We would be happy to do that for you. At the bottom of the screen is also where you'll find your mute button or your microphone and your video camera selections too. We do ask that you remain muted for the entirety of today's session, just so we can decrease any background noises, but we do love participation, and we will have the opportunity during chat questions for you to unmute if you would like to do so and share. We're also going to try to keep some time at the end for any question and answers. Again, we love to see your smiling face, but understand if you also just want to remain off of video. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I have one final disclosure for us today in our Diabetes Cooking Club, and we are here to present to you truly general health information when it comes to nutrition and diabetes care. We recognize that everybody's diabetes, or if you're living with pre-diabetes, is unique and different. And so our goal is that any information that you hear from us today be used as really a conversation to have with your primary care provider or your diabetes specialist that you might be seeing to see how this information can apply to you. So again, thank you all so much for joining us, and I am now going to pass it over to Kim, our educator.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kim House. I am the registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator. I'm actually coming to you from Portage Diabetes Center. And I am sharing with you the agenda for today. It looks like what we're going to be doing is talking about how to create a bowl, a nourishing bowl, building a better bowl. So we'll run through that, give you some tips and tricks. And then we'll go through the benefits of bowls for, those with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And then we'll go to Isabel, who's going to share with us that egg roll in a bowl recipe. And we'll come back and talk about and explore how does your bowl stack up. And then we'll open up for question and answer.
Great.
So let's explore building a better bowl. You should have gotten this handout attached to your email, and it's called Building a Better Bowl. And what we can see here in front of you is just a nice layout of how we've, it just highlighted the different ingredients that are important for diabetes and some balance in that nourishing bowl. So kind of at the top, it mentions whole grain. It suggests a serving size of half of a cup to a cup. There's some suggestions like brown rice and quinoa, for instance. And as you move down the list, we suggested, also, selecting a fruit or a vegetable to place in that bowl, with a suggested 1 to 1.5 cups. You might put some peppers, zucchini, or perhaps if it's a sweeter bowl, you might put some berries in there or some apples. So just kind of depending on what kind of flavors and sort of cuisine you're going for. obviously your whole grains are going to have a different nutrient profile than your fruits and vegetables. So looking at, all of these different ingredients and getting vitamins and minerals and fiber that we'll kind of talk about here very shortly. Protein, choosing a nice source of protein, especially lean protein in about a half a cup portion, because as we build this bowl in a half cup to cup portions in all of these areas, it builds such a nice portion. So a half a cup of something that could be animal or plant-based, so such as eggs, yogurt, or some lentils. And then, looking at our healthy fats. Fat contributes a little bit more flavor and some vitamins and minerals. So maybe just a tablespoon or two, like a thumb size amount. We might add just like a little dab of avocado, maybe some hummus or a few olives to that bowl. And then really to bring out all of these flavors, we can use some sodium-free seasonings. So such as some fresh or minced garlic, maybe some oil and vinegar, or perhaps maybe some fresh lemon juice, or some herbs and spices that we can pick right out of our garden. So when we're looking at these, we want to consider some portions. And when we were scrolling through this document, we want to highlight that the things that you see on your page that are asterisk are suggested carbohydrate foods that we want to pay attention, that we are acknowledging that these items may we want to be mindful of portions because they are carbohydrate containing, which can affect our blood sugars differently than other food ingredients. So we want to be mindful. Okay. So what we've done is also put together on the back side of your handout some really cool ideas of bowls. Now, again, it's going to be just anything goes. And I have to give props to Isabel because she just put this beautiful handout together. So, you can go for something Mediterranean, something Southwest, maybe a noodle bowl, very much a harvest, fall based, perhaps something breakfast type, or even just a fruit bowl. So I want to just kind of highlight, a couple of these. Let's see. Tina, which one should we highlight here and just talk about?
Oh, you know me. I'm going Mediterranean. I love
Okay.
olive.
So let's go Mediterranean. See here we chose our grains, which is that quinoa portion. That grilled chicken is that protein. We've got some nice vegetables, our cucumbers and tomatoes, that healthy fat with our olives and some feta. And some more beautiful plant protein is our hummus. So we're mindful of our portions, especially those carbohydrates, but we've got a beautiful blend of ingredients. The sky's the limit. So, Isabel, what would you go for?
I am always a fan of the fruit or the Southwest bowls.
Okay. So let's go with your first one, the one on the bottom there, that fruit bowl. So our whole grains, we would be mindful of that granola portion, but we're adding some protein, in it with that Greek yogurt. Obviously, we've got beautiful berries that could perhaps be in season, and some banana to give us other vitamins and minerals, extra protein with some nut butter, and love the honey and the cinnamon. Just brings out some wonderful flavors in that bowl.
Now, Kim, what's your favorite?
Oh, I would definitely do the breakfast or the fruit bowl. But I'm a sky's the limit. So, let's go with the breakfast bowl then. So I'm a oats as the grain, the scrambled eggs with the protein. I would add so many different vegetables, but I love the spinach, mushrooms, chia seeds, as some good protein and dietary fat. And those that do not like hot sauce, you could add other fresh herbs and spices. You could, let's see, what could we do for a herb that we could add in this that would bring it out nice.
I think parsley would be really nice with like the scrambled eggs. I think that'd be a really good flavor.
Nice. It's so modifiable. Love it. So I would like to open this up, and I know Tina is going to kind of monitor this and share with what you guys are mentioning. But what are your favorite bowl ingredients? Put that in the chat. You know, list off all your different bowl ingredients there while we move on through. Tina, what do you see?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Nothing yet. So feel free to share. What are your favorite bowl ingredients? What's your combination that you like to put together? All right, we're seeing some things roll in now. And so we've got brown rice, salmon, and broccoli. Classic, right? So delicious. You could do broccoli steamed. You could do broccoli roasted, add a whole different flavor. We've got sweet potato or squash. Like to add that into a bowl. Somebody really loves millet, right? Another whole grain. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, I never know for sure.
Millet.
Yeah, millet. And then another whole grain that could be used. Not an exhaustive list, but just to give you some ideas, so millet could be another whole grain that you could use instead of like a quinoa or a brown rice. Lots of fiber and nutrients there. We've got brown rice, chicken with loads of vegetables in that. Nikki says she likes to put like a pork tenderloin and a coleslaw together in a bowl. That's a smart idea.
I also love I think I might have seen sweet potato, and that's kind of new for me, like chops, like diced sweet potatoes. You can roast them, you can add some chicken and just different, you can kind of sweeten it up, or you can kind of like make it savory. I've seen it all different ways, and it's kind of just, it's been delicious.
Yep. And then one final thought here. Somebody says barley, chicken, and then broccoli or kale. So definitely grain, protein, veggies, and then we add in that fat, we add in that flavor, and now you've got yourself that balanced bowl that you were talking about, Kim.
Absolutely great.
Perfect.
You guys are on a roll. Well, the benefits of a bowl for those with prediabetes or diabetes, we start with talking about that balance of those macronutrients, which what that means is a balance of your important carbohydrates, fats, and your protein. So it's meant for all of those things, providing you all of what your body needs. So it gets you all that in one bowl. And it is nutrient rich, which means it is also delicious in your fiber. It is also rich in high in your antioxidants, like your vitamin C, your vitamin E. So those important vitamins that help to fight, and build our immune system. And also, it can be very versatile, as we've kind of like really explored already. So really with versatility, we see that it is customizable. We can kind of interchange things, explore new ingredients. And with customizing, it can be pretty convenient because maybe we don't have one ingredient that might make sense, but we might find something else in our fridge or our pantry that does make sense. And when we do make something convenient, we can either make it now and eat it now, or we can make it now and eat it later, which is nice because leftovers could be a blessing in some days or some weeks for some of us that are busy and desire not to cook every night. And with a bowl, a nourishing bowl, variety brings us a lot of joy when we do have food. And variety, provides us a way to get, unending flavors, textures, combinations. And at the same time, we're not having those cravings that might lead to eating things that might spike our blood sugars and that aren't diabetes friendly. So, guys, those things that are balanced, nutrient-rich, versatile, convenient, and have variety all help us with some of that blood sugar stability. So it's a very big benefit, these nourishing bowls.
Great. Thank you, Kim. All right, now we're going to pass it over to Isabel. And Isabel is going to be doing our cooking demonstration for us today. And so the recipe that you're seeing on the screen is going to be the recipe that Isabel will be making for us today. So take it away, Isabel.
All right. Hi, everybody. So, yes, today we are making our egg roll in a bowl recipe, and this recipe is so good. My dad and I found this recipe quite a few years ago, and we just kind of changed it and adapted it a little bit here and there throughout the years, but it's still something that we love to eat. It's great right away, like Kim said, you can eat it right away, or it's super great for meal prep, meal planning. It makes really great lunch and a real great dinner. So it's also super colorful. So you will see when we're actually cooking today how many different colors of the rainbow are in this egg roll in a bowl. And if you've been on any of our classes before, you know how important it is to eat a rainbow of fruits and vegetables. The more colors we eat, the more vitamins and minerals we get, and also the prettier our foods are. So with that, we are going to start our recipe. So what I have here is I have my skillet over medium heat, and you are going to add some ground poultry to this. So the recipe calls for ground chicken. My grocery store that I went to did not have ground chicken in stock, so I substituted it for ground turkey. That's totally fine. It still has good flavors. It's still a good lean protein. So we're going to be using the lean, fresh ground turkey instead of the chicken today. Because like we say in all of our classes, you have to use what you have for our recipes. What you have, what you like. And that's what's super fun about all the recipes that we make is they're all very individualized. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start browning up this turkey on my skillet. I'm gonna wash my hands really quick because I just touched poultry. So while I'm doing that, I would like to know from you all, what protein do you think would taste good in this? Would you stick with the chicken or would you swap it out with a different protein?
One of our other classes that we just did with one of the other health educators was about lentils, right? And I was thinking as a plant-based version, maybe even lentils would work in this too. And then I'm seeing some answers rolling in the chat, and some people would use shrimp, pork, or even sausage. Somebody is a vegetarian in the group, and so she would use a meat alternative. And then maybe even a diced pork tenderloin.
See, that is what is so great about this recipe is it's super versatile. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna let this cook for about 5 to 7 minutes until it's cooked through. And while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and start dicing up our onion, and then we're going to add some of our other flavor additions to our bowl. So you are, again, this is all very individualized. So if you like onion, awesome, keep the onion. If you don't like onion, swap it out for something else. Celery, peppers, any type of vegetable really kind of works in this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to chop up this onion. And I don't have my handy dandy cool chopper today, so we're doing handheld chopping, which is not my favorite. I like all the easy tools that come up with you know, chopping, like the little pull choppers. I think you guys have seen me use those before. It just makes it so much easier when it goes to cooking and meal prepping. So you're just going to go ahead, you're going to dice up our onion. And of course, onion is a really good flavor enhancer. It also has some really delicious, delicious smell. Well, if you like the smell of onion, I love the smell of onion, but it adds a nice smell to our dish. And it's got just, it's really a delicious addition to our dish. And then the other vegetables that we're going to be adding to this dish while I'm chopping through this onion here, today we're going to be adding some shredded carrots. I chose the rainbow colored carrots just because I love the extra colors in my dish. We're also going to be adding some sugar snap peas, and we're going to be adding some coleslaw that again is a colorful coleslaw. I went with the tri-color coleslaw. And then we're going to be adding some garlic and some baby corn. So that almost covers every single color of the rainbow. So we got our onion nice and diced up. I'm gonna check on my ground turkey here, see how it's cooking, and it's looking like it's browning pretty nicely. So it's not quite ready to be, the onion is not quite ready to be added to this yet. So we're gonna let this cook a little bit longer. But probably give it another minute or two and then I'll be able to add my onion to it. So while I am waiting for this to continue cooking, now I also want to know from you guys. So we're talking all about bowls today, and we're talking about different flavors of bowls. I know you guys just talked about your ingredients that you would add to your bowls, but I want to know, has anybody ever bought a bowl from like a favorite restaurant or a takeout place that you love so much, but you would love to learn how to make it a little bit healthier? Anybody have any favorite bowls? I don't know, Chipotle, Qdoba, all those have really delicious bowls. If you just want to drop that in the chat and we'll see what everyone comes up with and see if we can talk through those.
It seems like anymore we see those out in restaurants is that you can either go up to a counter and kind of build a bowl, or they, have that where you can make that out. It's already kind of made up as like an entree.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that Qdoba is. I don't go to Qdoba very often, but boy, my eyes just get so big when I see all those ingredients, and I'm just like, yep, add rice, yep, add beans, yep, guacamole. Like I just put it all on there, right? And so we also have somebody in the chat saying that they love Core Life Eatery, which is in Kalamazoo. I don't know if there's others around, but she really likes the Greek chicken bowl. Somebody says Full City has some good bowls. I'm not familiar with Full City. And then somebody's asking Isabel, what would you be able to use instead of corn in this recipe?
Yeah, so like we have kind of shared before, this recipe is super versatile, and what you would what you like you can add into it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kim and Tina, but I believe we added the corn and the snap peas to kind of balance out the carbohydrates a little bit. So I don't know if either of you guys have any suggestions if you want to switch out the corn for this bowl.
Yeah, if you wanted to switch out the corn, I mean, you could simply just add more of maybe the snap peas or the carrot. You could even just maybe another starchy vegetable. Actually, you could even put like a summer squash in, like a zucchini or a yellow squash, if you're trying to continue to add more color to it. You could also put your bell peppers in. Those would be my thoughts and suggestions. Kim, what about you?
Yeah, maybe a starchy, swapping out a starchy vegetable. I'm not sure how like green peas would be in something like this. But or something on the side that might, I know this doesn't have any rice, but adding a grain to it could be like on the side of that, quickly, made up and added to this dish.
And then somebody in the chat also says that they would add chestnuts to the recipe.
Mm.
Yep, good idea.
Nice.
Great ideas. All right. So I've got my onion added to my turkey. I'm gonna let that saute for a couple of minutes. And while that is kind of cooking and getting those flavors out of the onion, we are gonna add some of our other flavor boosters and enhancers in this recipe. So the next ingredient that we're going to add is we're going to add 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. So this is what sesame oil looks like if you've never seen it before. This adds a really nice flavor to this dish. Sometimes people think sesame oil is a little strong, so feel free to kind of lessen that if it's too strong for your liking. So we're going to add about a tablespoon of sesame oil to our recipe. And then we are going to add a tablespoon of rice vinegar to our recipe. Same thing. If it's too strong of a flavor, you can of course lessen that. Again, this is all you and what you like to do. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of that to our recipe. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of the lower sodium soy sauce. So as you know, soy sauce is quite high in sodium. So we are choosing the lower sodium source or the lower sodium soy sauce to kind of help combat just a little bit of that sodium intake. So you can always do less soy sauce if this seems too much for you, but this recipe is going to call for a 1/4 cup of this lower sodium soy sauce. I'm going to go ahead, dump that into my dish. Once that comes out, all right, dump that in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a quick stir. That way I can get kind of all the meat and all the onions kind of covered in this sauce mixture so far. Go ahead. Oh, it smells so delicious in my kitchen right now. We always talk about smell-o-vision. It'd be so great if we had such a thing. All right. Wow, that smells really super good. So I've got that added. I'm going to let that saute for a little bit, cook for a little bit. And then I am going to add my last couple of ingredients. So we're going to be adding some garlic. We're going to be adding a little bit of ginger. We're going to be adding our coleslaw mix, our carrots, our baby corn, and our snap peas. So I have an entire bag of coleslaw that I'm going to go ahead and add to our dish. But actually, before I do that, I think I'm going to add my garlic first. So I'm using this jarred garlic. If you don't have jarred garlic, you can use fresh garlic. You can use garlic powder. Of course, again, whatever you like. And I love garlic, so I'm going to go ahead and use the entire 2 teaspoons of minced garlic to really add some good, nice flavor to that. And then on the opposite side of things, I'm not a huge fan of ginger. So the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of ground ginger or 1.5 tablespoons of grated fresh ginger. I'm actually going to take that down to about 1/2 of ground ginger just because, again, I'm not a huge fan of ginger. But of course, if you love ginger, do it up. All right. Add that, and then I'm going to give that all a good nice stir. So my garlic and my ginger is all over my bowl here. Nice little stir. All right, and then I'm going to add my last few vegetable ingredients because then we're going to let that kind of saute and cook so some of these vegetables can soften. So I'm going to add my entire bag of coleslaw mix. You can use if you like to shred cabbage, you can shred your own cabbage. I just like the ease of using bagged coleslaw mix. Then I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of grated carrots and a 1/2 cup of baby corn and a 1/2 cup of snap peas. I love sugar snap peas. I feel like they are absolutely a delicious recipe or a delicious vegetable. They were some of my favorites, and we're just going to kind of estimate here. Good. Put that right in there. Gonna add my 1/2 cup of carrots, shredded carrots. Like I said, I bought the rainbow bag mixture because I just love how many colors come in the rainbow carrots. Throw that right all in there. All right. And then I'm gonna add my baby corn. And that will be all. I'm going to give it a good mix. I'm going to put a top on it to kind of steam those vegetables a little bit. And then we're going to bring it back to Kim so this can continue cooking. And I'll bring it back to you guys at the very end so you can see how gorgeous and colorful this bowl is. All right.
Thank you, Isabel. And I just want to say, I love the fact that you use kind of these pre-bagged, pre-chopped ingredients, making it a very approachable recipe, something quick and easy to assemble. I'm thinking like a meal prep meal. Like this is great. Something to cook up that's healthy, nutritious, but can be done really in probably less than 30 minutes, right? You can get meal on the table and have some leftovers for lunch. So thank you. All right. So we're going to go back to our education with Kim. And here we go.
Yeah, I love that. That looked like a nice full skillet of goodness. I can't wait to see that. Now, Tina, did you have any responses to Isabel's question on you had a few, right?
Yeah, so some of the favorite bowls that people
Yep.
like to have are the Greek chicken bowl from Core Life. Um,
Okay.
just somebody saying that Bowl City has some good bowls, and then
Okay.
another
Right.
one was ahi mango bowl from the
Okay.
Pier Sushi area.
Okay. Okay. Well, what I am going to bring to you in this last portion of our class today is how does your bowl stack up? So what we've done is we've this this recipe that Isabel is preparing is a, egg roll in a bowl. So what we did is we took a frozen version of the ingredients essentially, and we have taken and chosen something similar, and then we're going to compare the nutrition profile. So what we've done is we've chosen Marie Callender's sweet and savory sesame chicken bowl, and alongside 4 mini chicken egg rolls. So what you would have is the same size as a large egg roll. So when you kind of put the same concept together, it mimics our egg roll in a bowl recipe. So if you consumed these two, this entree of Marie Callender's frozen meal, and you consumed 4 mini egg rolls, we've put together on the next slide a nutrition profile comparison. So the frozen meals together are the middle column, and the right column is our homemade egg roll in a bowl. So I want to highlight a couple of these that essentially the calories are cut in half in the egg roll in a bowl recipe from 700 down to 300 some, which is the top line there. The dietary fat, which we don't often talk too much about, is definitely about cut in half. Sodium is pretty considerably much lower. In a total day's worth of some 2,000 or 2,400, the frozen meals together really consume close to, 3/4 of that to the homemade or the egg roll in a bowl recipe is maybe, a third of that version. So it's cut quite in half. It's still a significant amount, but we are using that low sodium soy sauce, and really there's no other additional sodium uh, ingredients. Now look at the carbohydrate comparison. In the frozen meals, it's 109 grams of carbohydrate compared to 16 provided in the egg roll in a bowl recipe. That is considerable when we talk about diabetes and the intake of carbs and how that affects blood sugar spikes. So that is considerably different. The dietary fiber provided is the exact same, but what I really like to see is that the sugar content is much lower. So we're not getting those added sugars. And really it provides you the same amount of protein, either recipe. So what this means is you're getting much less carb, you're getting a much more balanced recipe. So in our egg roll in a bowl recipe, you're consuming 16 grams of carb, 24 grams of protein, much more balanced than what you would with the other frozen entrees, which would lead to a much better blood sugar result consuming the egg roll in a bowl recipe. We'd have to make some modifications with the frozen entrees, I believe. So anything Tina or Isabel you want to add to that? Quite considerable changes there.
Yes, no, I agree. And I just wanted to point out that even though the fiber remains that same, the fiber in relation to the amount of carbohydrates really
Yes.
is going to, that right there is going to equate to some better, more stable blood sugar. So, you know,
Yes.
you might look at that and say, well, it doesn't matter, right? The fibers
Right.
are the same, but that 5 grams of fiber with 109 grams of carbohydrate are still going to equate to much higher, less stable blood sugars.
Right. It's much less diluted in that frozen meal than it is in that homemade, that egg roll in a bowl recipe. It's much more of the carbohydrate content. Egg roll in a bowl recipe. I like that. Definitely good point. Okay. So we've taken some frozen meals and now we come to our Panda Express sesame chicken bowl. So we took an entree and a side. So we have your, I believe the sesame chicken bowl with some chow mein noodles that compares to Marie Callender's sesame chicken bowl. And we've, at Panda Express, they have one large chicken egg roll, which is equivalent to the 4 mini egg rolls of that P.F. Chang frozen. So we're trying to do apples to apples. So how does this compare to our egg roll in a bowl recipe? Well, the calories are considerable at Panda Express for this bowl, sesame chicken bowl, compared to our egg roll in a bowl recipe. The fat, 48 compared to 13. So definitely a large drop in dietary fat, making it at home. Look at the sodium, much more sodium there at Panda Express, and that almost meets our dietary needs for the day in just a bowl and an egg roll. It's much higher in sodium. When you think about maybe a daily allotment of like 2,000 to like 2,400. Look at the carbohydrate, 149 grams of carbohydrates just from this meal compared to our 16 in the egg roll in a bowl. That is tremendous impact on blood sugars. And you might look at the dietary fiber like Tina mentions, and you might see, wow, there's 10 grams compared to 5 in the egg roll in a bowl recipe. But when you look at the actual total carb content, there's so much more carb in the Panda Express than in the egg roll in a bowl recipe. So there's not much of an impact positively in the Panda Express with that dietary fiber content of 10 grams compared to the egg roll in a bowl recipe. The sugar content has dropped considerable. And you might see a little more protein in the Panda Express a takeout there, that bowl and egg roll choice. But when you look at the balance, again, I want to just enforce that like there's 24 grams of protein with 16 grams of carbohydrate in this egg roll in a bowl recipe. That's going to mean so much more positive results in your blood sugars than 149 grams of carbs to 37 grams of protein. So there's a big difference there in the impact of blood sugar stability. So we wanted to kind of share that with you, apples to apples here.
I like being able to compare those nutrition facts labels because we do look at the nutrition facts label as a whole rather than just pointing out certain nutrients. And so it's helpful to kind of compare those and say there are way more positives with this homemade recipe than just the fact that there is more fiber in the frozen or takeout options. So very helpful.
Absolutely. And if you do see something that you would prefer to boost, like you feel like, well, I would prefer to boost the protein in this recipe or perhaps the fiber. There are, again, this is customizable. There are so many options and ingredients to be able to do that to meet your dietary and nutrition needs. So that's the beauty of making your things at home and the versatility of these bowls. So it's wonderful. And we bring it to our last chat question. What diabetes-friendly ingredient do you hope to use in a bowl in the future? What do you hope to experiment with that you might have heard Tina mention in the chat, see on your PDF that we shared? What is it that you hope? Ooh, tofu. I see tofu. I know. I was thinking that.
Great one to add to, like of the blend of the ground chicken and the tofu in order to increase that protein and that fiber. It matched that question that you had earlier for the group pretty perfectly. Somebody else said that they would add bean sprouts to this recipe too, so a whole nother texture, right? That crunch component. Somebody said using maybe some brown rice and quinoa and in bowls instead of like the white rice. And for me, I think I like the use of like hummus and avocado. I like that fat component, that creamy component in the bowl. So that would be something that I would add. And we also have more quinoa, some quinoa lovers in the group today. Sweet potatoes, more vegetables. Love the variety in the vegetables. Yes. Ooh, edamame. That was something that we added to the handout. That's a good idea. For that protein, that fiber, absolutely.
You might have an ingredient in the fridge that's diced up. Like who might not have like extra onion left over, right? And you're like, what do I do with it? Throw it in, right? You might have a few extra little, like we used celery this week to put in a soup. And so we have some celery left over. I mean, we could just throw that in, right? If we had a bowl on our nourishing bowl recipe in our weekly recipes to make. So it's kind of versatile. You can kind of just throw whatever in.
All right, very good. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm actually going to stop right here with our presentation because Isabel is looking very eager to show us that final product. So I don't want to deny her any longer.
All right, so this is our final bowl. You can see all the beautiful different colors in it. It smells so good. It tastes so good. The textures are wonderful. There's some crunch to it. It is delish.
Very delicious looking. It's got all of those macronutrients in it that Kim was talking about. You got that done in less than 30 minutes as we were discussing. Yeah, it looks delicious. I'm totally adding this to my meal plan moving forward. I would have never have thought about essentially unstuffing the egg roll, right? Unstuffing the egg roll, deconstructing it seems to be the popular word, right? Deconstructing it. And yes, Jill, thank you for asking the question again. So we had the question, Isabel, where did you find the baby corn? I know, so sorry.
Well, it came in a can.
Mm-hmm.
So in the grocery store, where you find the soy sauce at, where you find the sesame oil at, where the rice vinegar is at, there is going to be a whole bunch of different ingredients over there. And one of the things is a can of baby corn. So let me grab my can out so you can see. This is what it looks like in the grocery store. Just comes straight up like this. You can get whole baby corn, or you can get cut baby corn. And it's right there by the other soy sauces, by the rice. It's really, really delicious.
Good. Great. All right. Well, hopefully, and somebody in the comments did say that was eye-opening in order to see the different nutrient profile of the frozen restaurant meals compared to the version that we have created for the class today. So hopefully you guys will find that this is a recipe you will want to enjoy moving forward. And so what I'm going to do right now is bring us back to the PowerPoint. because we're all hungry and Isabel gets to eat and we're not. And so we are going to just open it up to any questions that you might have. Maybe you have some additional questions that you want to come off mute for and ask us in regards to building a nourishing bowl that is blood sugar friendly. We would love to entertain those questions and answer those questions for you. So I will leave it here for just a minute to see if we have any questions. And if we don't have any questions, then we will wrap up today's class with some of the review of the services that are offered at Bronson if you need additional help with your diabetes care. Jill says she's heading out right now to get those ingredients. Isabel, you have one believer in the egg roll in a bowl. So feel free to come off mute if you have any questions, type it in the chat. I'm not seeing anything come through yet, so please feel free to continue to type those up if you, oh, did somebody say something?
Yeah, I just had a question. Would couscous, would that be a good alternative for like whole grains?
Great question. Thank you, Jade. And I'll let Kim take that one.
Absolutely. If you have that on hand, keep that in mind, that portion, half cup to a cup.
And there's a difference between the two. There's different types of couscous as well, right? There's like a more regular version. I don't know how to say that, maybe an original type of couscous that I think is more often found in the grocery store that doesn't have as much fiber, but it takes a little bit more work, but there is also whole grain couscous available that would have more fiber. So keeping that in mind when interchanging it with some of the other whole grains, that some couscous may have more or less fiber in it.
Maybe like a Trader Joe's.
Yes, maybe a Trader Joe's, which I'm just discovering, so I'm a little behind in the times. All right, and then somebody, there's also Israeli couscous. Yes, thank you for saying that. And then Catherine just wanted to share that she is very thankful for the helpful information and recipes, and that it's difficult to meal prep and remain healthy, especially in the type of line of work that she does. So I'm happy to hear that there is a takeaway from today's recipe and information, especially when you're on the go. This might be something to meal prep for the week ahead to have available, just to pop into the microwave and get yourself a nutritious meal in. So thanks, Jade, for the question. Seeing no other questions, we'll move forward and just kind of talk through some of the services that we have here at Bronson. So Kim, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So if you are interested in exploring any further nutrition education for your prediabetes or diabetes, it does take a referral from your primary care provider or your endocrinologist. And you may see a diabetes educator at, through Bronson Diabetes Education, South Haven, Battle Creek, or Portage. We do have virtual visits as well. There's medical nutrition therapy, which is just basically nutrition therapy for your prediabetes or diabetes, and you want to check on your insurance for that. Otherwise, we do comprehensive diabetes education. That's anything diabetes related, blood sugar, medications, all of your different exams and tests that you need. That is also requiring a referral from your primary care provider or your endocrinologist. So there's lots of options to get educated, whether you are new to prediabetes or diabetes or have had it for years on end. So let us know if you have any questions on how to get that referral placed.
And in your reminder email that you would have received for today's program, there was also the flyer for both of these services with contact information. So take a look at that flyer if you do have any questions about those services, very beneficial services that we have. And then finally, if you are a user of Bronson or not, and you're looking for potentially a new primary care provider or a a certain area, like maybe your diabetes, and you're looking for an endocrinologist, you want to know who is available in your area, you can use the bronsonhealth.com Find a Doctor feature and narrow down providers in your area that are accepting new patients. You can also call the Care Advisor phone number listed on the screen, and they can help you find somebody that would fit your needs, to your individual health needs. Additionally, if you ever need any help with MyChart, which is essentially the electronic medical record that we get to use as patients at Bronson and elsewhere, but Bronson has Bronson Health Answers. Phone numbers listed and email addresses listed on the screen there. If you ever need any help on how to navigate MyChart, they are the folks to kind of help you with that. If you're ever having any billing or payment plan questions or issues, contact Bronson Patient Accounting. Again, at the phone numbers listed there on the screen, they would be happy to help you answer your questions there. And then just a reminder that between the MyChart estimator tool, whether you have an active MyChart or not, or you can call the price estimator team at the phone number again listed in that bottom bullet point. If you are ever referred for a service and you're just not sure how much that's going to cost you out of pocket, you can contact this team and they can help you understand your costs out of pocket for that service that you have been referred for. So take a picture of that. Very helpful information moving forward as you receive care at Bronson. And again, don't forget to sign up for our final diabetes cooking club in the year 2025. It's at the end of October. We will be doing sheet pan meals, so don't want to miss out on that. So registration is open and available. We thank you all so much for spending an hour with us this morning. Isabel, great job with that egg roll in a bowl. Kim, thank you for the great information. And we hope to see you again at our Diabetes Cooking Club.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everybody.